seconds to get started. What is energetic alignment? I think if you would have asked me that question about a decade ago, I probably would have scratched my head, maybe smirked at you, and been like, huh? Or maybe said something along the lines of it's about stepping into your purpose, walking in your purpose, being aligned in your purpose. Well, I am gearing up for part 4 of our 4-part series on belief systems right here on Love Learning You. And my name is Justine. I call myself a recovering workaholic because that is kind of how I was trained. I've been in the workforce since I was 11 years old. I grew up in the Midwest of the United States of America, North America. And woo, yeah, I started cutting people's grass and mowing lawns and stuff when I was 11, and I'm 41. So I've been in a workforce or working to earn money for 30 years. And gotta say, I mean, I hope I'm not alone. Maybe chime in the comments when you see this, but I hope I'm not alone in saying, like, I'm tired. Um, as much as I love to work, and so many people think, "Oh, you're so productive as an entrepreneur or podcaster, etc." Part of these things in my life have been the function of a lot of anxiety and a lot of hustle mindset of having to do more to earn more, earn more. And that has actually never really been something that motivates me personally. I am the type of person, if I have funds, I give generously and I will create some memories for myself through travel. But I am also a person who has lived on very little at different points in my life. So I'm finding that motivations have changed. And so now, if you ask me, what does it mean to be energetically aligned? It really doesn't have anything to do with a paycheck or a contract or numbers or analytics, even though those things are helpful to us. I'm all about systems and how I support organizations with change management. But in this series on belief systems this summer, one of the things in part 3, we talked about the trifecta of fear, which is essentially patriarchal systems, race based systems, the socio-political construct of race, as well as capitalism. And these are all intimately intertwined. They're symbiotic and also isomorphic in nature. And reality is, capitalism was able to come about because of the harsh realities of enslavement, and specifically the colonization and enslavement of Africans and the continent of Africa, having many resources exploited, which still continues today. So I don't want to go down too many rabbit trails because I do talk about those in depth in our actual Learning Lab series. So let's get into some practices. In part 4, I'm trying to decide what practices I want to share most because I've engaged in a lot of therapeutic, specifically somatic practices over the past decade with approaching my own origin story, my own traumas, etc., and also somebody who grew up in a very religious, fundamentalist background of religious traditions. So you can imagine for each of us in this world, there are many layers. I have an episode on here called The Onion, and it's all about how you might be feeling right now, and just in your life in general when you realize I'm not energetically aligned with who the divine says I am. I'm not energetically aligned with the things I find pleasure in and enjoy. And here's just some things that I do each day. So I'll give you 3 real quick, and then we're going to go in depth in part 4. So I'll say goodbye after this. But 3 things that I do. One that I love to have, and even if it's just for a couple minutes, looking out the window in my bedroom, is I call it a sunrise moment. And taking those first breaths and those first sight that you have to be in the world and be awake from your sleep, how are you centering yourself? And I do this so that my brain doesn't just automatically start running like a computer. That is kind of how my brain can be. And I have always been wired that way to want to get up and do, produce. And that was very beneficial for the organizations I worked for and within, but it was not healthy for me. So when I take a sunrise moment, ideally it's outside in nature. Ideally, it's around 30 minutes. And then it also involves the next one, which is gentle movement throughout each day. Weight management is another thing I talk about pretty openly in my own journey because I've had a lot of ups and downs with my own weight management through the years, body image, self-worth, how that has showed up in my business dealings, all the things. And I'm actually working one book project I'm working on right now has to do with just my world as an herbalist and how I have kind of been in this workaholism recovery journey, but also been healing my body through different teas, different flowers, etc. But that is really, really important because when I used to try to manage my weight, it was very restrictive. And now it really is looking at when does my body ask her, when is she asking me to move? And really aligning with that versus pushing through. There's this concept, especially when you're a workaholic, of pushing through. Oh, just get a little more done. And that is not what our system or the universe really responds well to. And so much of me was hardwired for be resilient. But also, there's a lot of force that comes with that. You put a lot of stress on the body, the mind, and the spirit. The third thing I would say is daily introspection. So going within to align with your own inner compass. What I call our inner compass is our ability to look within. And I actually did an activity in part 3, but I count it as a way to align within so that you can understand where your energies are at. And all 3 of these things I just named actually are little small things you can do throughout each day to get back to your own energetic alignment and ask, even when it's as simple as like, I'm hungry, but what does my body need right now? What is she telling me that she needs? Not just what sounds good or how I want to go drink a big milkshake or something like that, which isn't necessarily good or bad. It's just to make sure that you listen to your body. And I didn't do that for so many years. So I wanted to hop on, say hello, good morning, and also invite you all to tune into the Belief System series. Parts 1, 2, and 3 are live here on the channel, and part 4 is gearing up to be released. This was kind of a mini preview of we will go into much deeper practices and some stories and how to apply those practices, what might come up for you when you start engaging with somatic practices, different healing modalities to actually depart from some of these oppressive systems that we are all birthed into on planet Earth. So welcome to Love Learning You, and I'll see you inside the series if it aligns with where your journey is at.